I want to make a video about something that might be of interest to maybe a few Avalanche owners out there. Not all of you, but maybe a few. And what you're looking at here is the back seat area of my 2002 Avalanche, and the back seat is removed. This truck has had a complete body off frame restoration. I had the body shell completely removed from the chassis, and the entire everything was stripped out of this body shell. The doors are off, the interior, everything is all stripped out. So anyways, now I'm in the process of putting everything, all the little details back together. And one of the things I've always had, the situations with my Avalanche that kind of sets me apart from the typical Avalanche owner. But anyway, this is what sets me apart from the typical Avalanche owner, is that I'm somebody who does not carry passengers in the back seat very often, and is more likely to carry cargo back here than passengers. So I don't really need the seats that much at all. So when I took them out, I decided I'm just going to do something about this situation here. And one of the things I want to talk about is when we fold the back seats down in our Avalanches, as we all know, if you own one of these, there are some compromises involved with that. Down here, what happens is there's thickness to that upholstery, and what happens is if you just want to use this cargo area to just put some kind of, big box back here, there's a lot of room back here, okay? But with the seat folded down, that thing is like several inches high. So, you have a reduced amount of height back here that, you could put things in here because they're sitting on top of that seat bench. So that's what I'm talking about. There's some compromises involved. You can't really use, every cubic foot of cargo space back here like what I have right now, because with the seats removed out here, you've got room for a lot. There's just, tons and tons of room. Oh, one little problem. you've got these studs, okay? And these studs are all sticking up, plus the floor is irregular, right? So if you're going to go and put things in here, well, they're all just going to be laying on top of these studs. And yeah, so, without acting stupid any longer here, you can just obviously see with that irregular surface and the studs, you just don't have an ideal platform to set cargo items in here. And furthermore, with this flat like this here, you cannot open up the midgate, because the midgate, the hinges, you cannot bring that midgate down to, more than a certain level. You're gonna be real hard on the hinges if you do that. So, that midgate, it goes down, and it's got to sit at a level that's, it makes a platform that's like about a good 10 inches or so, maybe 8 to 10 inches above this floor. But I'm talking about if you're putting cargo in here without dropping the midgate, and you just want to lay stuff in here, and you would like a nice flat continuous area here with a lot of room. Well, you get that with the seats. But anyway, the idea is I wanted to make some kind of a platform that I can put across here, and it would be a temporary platform in the sense that it requires no permanent modifications. So even though I have all the back seats pulled out of this thing right now, there has been no permanent modifications. I have the back seats stored, and they're in fine condition. There's there's a frame. Actually, removing these back seats is not really a big operation. There's just basically, there's some plastic trim that kind of hides the mounting points, because there's a nut that goes on there, and there's just some plastic trim, and you pop that off real easy. And then there's 8 nuts that you remove, 4 on each side, and then basically you just pick it up out of there, and it's mounted on a frame, and the upholstery sections come off of the frame, and it's not really difficult. And so pulling the seats out of this thing is not really a huge job. If you're really fast and you've done it, you can R&R the seats in, I'd say a really fast guy who's really faster than me could probably get it done in about an hour. And somebody like me who takes their time and putzes around, I could have it done in an afternoon. So the point I'm making here is I'm going to have something that's going to be a platform, a cargo platform in here that's going to outperform in every way what Chevy gave you. Okay, and it requires no permanent modification. And if you ever have the situation come up where you need to carry some passengers, all you need is a couple hours notice, and you can get your seats, which you have stored. I have them stored away, and like I said, they're in fine condition, nothing wrong with them. And I could put these seats right back in this thing and have it back in OEM condition anytime I want. And so you could do that if the situation arises where you're going to carry passengers and go on a trip. But so anyway, I want to show you what I did back here, what I made to take full advantage of all this cargo space back here if you're the kind of Avalanche owner who is more likely to carry cargo most of the time than carry passengers, and you may need to carry passengers occasionally, in which case give yourself an afternoon and you can convert your back seat area back to passenger seating accommodations. So anyway, that's kind of the intro here, and I'll show you in detail what I did with that and what it all amounts to and everything as we move on. So thanks a lot and stay tuned. And so anyway, I'm back. I'm in the garage here, and I'm gonna show you my homemade custom cargo platform. But first, take a minute to look at my Avalanche out there in the sunshine. And I got it all cleaned up the other day, and it's got a little bit of dust on it. We live on a dusty road here, so that's kind of a way of life. But yeah, just take a minute to appreciate it's coming along. It doesn't look too bad out in the sunshine when it's all cleaned up. It's been completely restored, completely repainted. It's got a completely new frame and new chassis. Getting a new transmission real soon, and some other goodies, and got new wheels. Those are the OEM wheels, which I like. Those are the ones that came with it. I still don't have the grill on. This is bare here, and that's because I've had some work with the air conditioning system, and I'm making sure that everything stress tests out this summer. Last summer it did okay, and I'm going to make sure when we get into the heat, we're a little bit of heat today. Actually, it's about 92 with a little humidity today. And but so anyway, that's one last thing I got to do. That hasn't been mounted, but I got a brand new grill, and that's going to go in here. I got this bash bar here is that's a custom piece. I got some video on that too. That's a store-bought bash bar that has been it's had some custom modifications made to it. It's not out of the box. But anyway, so there you go. It doesn't look too bad when you consider that I did that restoration in this dinky little 2.5 car garage with the amount of space. I painted it in here too, and I'll be the first to admit that paint job is not flawless. But it's not going to the Concours d'Elegance, folks, okay? It's going to be a daily driven truck. It's going to see snow. It's going to see slop. And, going down the road from a distance, it looks just fine, and I don't have to worry about it. If it gets some scratches and some stone chips and things like that, it's it's a truck, man. And so I can when you consider what it looked like about 4 years ago and what I started with at that point, it's like about 500% better. Cluttered garage, painted it in here and everything, 100%. Single-handed too. No assistance on anything except my brother helped me R&R the hood. That was kind of a two-man job to pick that up, put that on there. So anyway, there's my little cargo bed platform that I made to sit across the back and, you know, let me get a ruler here. I know this thing is, it's 5 feet across, 5 feet even 16 inches, and I forgot, I think it's 30 inches. Let's see here. It's 32. All right, so it's about 32. So it's 32 by 60, and it's made out of largely 1/2-inch plywood, and it takes 2 sheets to get enough. And you've got it folds up, and I'll have to show you that after I get it into the truck. And you've got some aluminum angle stock here that helps pull it straight and make it sit flat to you know, control the natural warpage of the wood. And I had 2 different pieces of aluminum on here. I started out with a piece that was 1 inch by 1 inch by about 1/8 inch thickness, and it wasn't enough. It wasn't strong enough to pull it straight. So I ended up switching over to a piece that's 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches by I think it's 1/4 inch thick. It's like much thicker and stronger, and that worked a lot better. So anyway, the thing is, you have to do some stuff to the underside of this thing in order to make it made up and sit level and stable on the irregular surface inside that back seat area. Okay, and then this piece is hinged, and I'll show you how that works once I get it in the truck. And you've got these cutouts here are important, and you'll see why. That matches up with the seat backs, and so there's a pad here that just when you've got it folded down to give you a level surface. This wall that folds up is about 1 inch or so shorter than the base, and there's reasons for that too. You can't have it any higher than a certain height, because you've got considerations with the seat backs, and if you want the seat backs to be reclined and have the seats where I want them, well, then, you know, that's where you got to be. But anyway, that leaves you some grab area here where you can get under this, and you've got some grab area under here too. There's some space under here, so you basically you've got grab area all around this thing where you can get fingers under it and pick it up to open it up. There's a piano hinge right here that you can't see under this carpet, and it's a 4-foot long piano hinge, so the ends are about 1 foot from each end. I think, or 6 inches from each end, right about there. That's where it ends, and it sits flush. And I just put the carpet right over it. And this is not automotive carpet either. This is basically what this is speaker covering. They use this stuff for pro sound speakers. I got a piece of it laying around, and I don't. So I'll have to get that in the next portion of the video. I gotta put this thing in the truck, and one man can do it, and you can pick it up and put it in the truck. It's easier with 2 people, but one guy who's able-bodied. I'm still looking around to see if I can find a piece of that carpet, but no, I must have put it away somewhere, because I don't see any of it laying around. But I'd show you what it looks like and what it amounts to. But basically, it is not automotive carpet. It does not have backing on it, but it's a tough, rugged fabric that they use it for covering speakers. So, you know, when you go to concerts and you see the professional PAs, a lot of times you'll see the floor monitors and speakers will be covered with it. That's what this stuff is. And I got it from a company called Parts Express. They're online, and they sell loudspeaker and electronics and loudspeaker supplies and things like that. And so they have this stuff, and it's put on there with some contact adhesive. I basically this whole thing was put together. The wood glue I used was this stuff. They got it at Walmart. Good stuff, works. And this is the spray adhesive that's holding the carpet on. and I emptied this can out. This stuff's at Walmart, and I emptied this can out. So it takes the whole can to cover this piece with enough glue to glue this carpet down. So, and again, that's like 32 inches by 60. And around the edges, use this product, and they got this at Walmart too. Weldwood Cotton Tech Cement. This is the little can. You can get this in quart cans, but this is a nice handy little can with a brush built into the cap. And what you use this for is around the edges, because everywhere around the edges you've got to have extra adhesive. You got to have a little bit of extra holding power, and pay extra attention to that, and you can't get that out of a spray can. You have to apply with a brush. So that's what you use this stuff for. And it took about a whole can to secure the edges of the carpet down. And so there you go. That's what I use for that. And okay, I'm going to shut it down here and come back and show you later on when I've got it in the truck. Thanks a lot. Stay tuned. Okay, I'm back, and what I've just done is I carried my cargo platform over to the truck and set it back in here. And like I say, one able-bodied guy can pick this thing up. If you can't handle it, then it might be a good idea to get two people on it. Two people will definitely have an easy time of it. But now you get I guess you can get a little bit better look at what it looks like from underneath. So here's your locator, and what it's doing right now is the first thing I do is I set it in here in the very back of the truck. I've got the rear window out right now, but that's not necessary. But you have it sitting centered and upright, sitting on its rear edge. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it down, and I have the front seats pushed all the way forward, and that's just to make sure I got plenty of elbow room. That's just for now. We're not going to drive that way, but what's going to happen is you've got to have these locators end up in this right here on that stud, the outermost forward stud on each side. And what's going to happen is this thing is on its edge. It's not sitting all the way backwards. So what's going to happen is this is going to fold down, and the blocks are going to be sitting right about here. And what you do is then you have to get down underneath there, and you might need to get a little pen light, flashlight or something, and you can see where the block is, and you just pick up on it one side at a time, pick up on it, rock it back and scoot it over until you get it right on that stud. And put the locator on that stud on this side, then go to the other and get that one at a time. Then you've got located. I don't know if I can do this on camera or not. I'm gonna not. I want to hang on to this thing with two hands so it doesn't flop over and get out of control. So I'm gonna do what I just told you I was gonna do. But anyway, this gives you. Let me get my ruler, my tape measure, and I'll see if I can give you, for those who might be interested, see if I can give you some better measurements. So you got these rear set of blocks, and I'm gonna let you look at that and you decide what you see. But yeah, the edge of that looks like 1 5/8 inches, maybe 11/16. Those are the rear blocks. And these ones here, these are your side blocks. Yeah, I think they're like 5/8 inches, 5/8 ish. Okay, except for that there's a little foot, and that adds about another, what, maybe two, it comes out to about 2 3/16, I guess, with that little foot on the end there. And this is not really important because it does not need to go all the way down to the floor. This can be, all it needs to do is reach a depth where it gets over this stud a little bit. It does not need to go all the way down to where it's resting on the floor. All it is just part way down. So this block here is just, I don't know, it's a nominal, looks like about, I don't know, maybe about 5/8, 1 5/8, 1 11/16. Who cares? It's not important. It does not to be. What you do need to do is you need to get this hole in the right place, and that you're going to have to figure that out. Okay, and then you got your these are with countersunk screws that are flush on the other side here with nuts, and there's a wood screw in there where it goes into a thickness of wood. And let's see what the front blocks. So yeah, that's about 2 3/16 for the front blocks. And like I say, the tunnel that sits right on the plywood. You can see where it's been sitting right here. You can see where the blocks have been sitting here, and plywood sits right there. And then there's just a little, that's about a 1/4 inch worth there. And what that does is even it out where it sits across the rear of the tunnel, and that comes about right. So there you go. That gives you an idea, how you're going to lay out some blocks in this thing that is going to, and it's not really, you don't have to be precise, because this padding and this carpet, it's got give to it. Okay, so you don't have to match up with, you see all these stamped irregularities in the floor and stuff, and there's an irregularity there and so forth, and it gets contoured and all over the place, and you don't have to match up dead nuts perfect with things, because the give of the padding and the carpet is just going to take things up for you, and it'll be fine. You'll be able to, you'll see. I did it all by trial and error. I stuck pieces of wood in there, and I said, that needs to be a little thicker. So I just had hunks of junk 2x4. That's all this is. You can see this is just old 2x4 I had laying around. It's just junk wood that I didn't care if I made a couple of scrap pieces, and I did. I had something that was a little not thick enough, had to cut me another piece and so forth. And so there you go. You can do the same thing. You'll be fine. All right, I'll be back. Stand by. All right, so I'm back, and I've let the platform down, and yeah, it takes two hands. You gotta be steady with it. And as you can see, it's just laying in here. And as you can see, what happens is when you let it down, you've got to have the seats all the way forward to make clearance. And right now, it's sitting forward of where it needs to be. So now you have to locate it. But this is just, I let it flop down, and it's just sitting here, and it's pretty close to centered, and it needs to be brought backward. So you're gonna take it backward a little bit, and I'll go over to the other side here. And take this side backward a little bit. And then what's got to happen is you got to peek under here, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this on camera or not. I know I can do it two hands see what I'm doing, but yeah, you've got to pick it up, peek under there, and you probably can't see, and I'm probably gonna need to get a little bit of light too, but yeah, you pick it up on each side, you peek under there, you can see where your locator's got to go, and then you nudge it into place one side at a time. So I'm gonna do that off camera, and I'll come back. Stay tuned. Okay, so here's a shot for you, and I've got a little light under here. Now you can see it is not, the stud is not in the locator yet. It's right next to it. It's right next to the hole, and it's sitting on the edge of that block. So I just got to feel my way in there, and there you go. Now it's in the hole, and I just let it down. Okay, so it's sitting on my light right now. I got to pull the light out. There you go. But anyway, with the light in there, you can see, okay, it is on that locator. The stud is in the hole right now, and you can see the block does not reach all the way down to the carpet. It doesn't have to. All it has to do is engage that hole, about a 1/2 inch or so,
And there you go. So yeah, and I just pushed down on it there. Okay, so this side, can't see. Anyway, yeah, you can't see because it's sitting down there, but this side is located got to go over and do the other side. So you get the idea. I'm going to turn off for now and bring you back in a minute. Stay tuned. And I'm back, and so now I have the platform located on both sides. And so that's what it looks like. I've got it, you have, one thing you have to do when you've got to make the corners of these things contoured, okay? You've got to put some contour on that corner there, so you know you're not up against the trim. You've got some clearance there and stuff, and so there you go. And you know, I just eyeballed that, you know, give you some clearance there. It sits there, and it's nice and stable. You can, I'm climbing through it now, and it's totally stable. I got my knee right on the edge here. It doesn't rock. It's a stable, solid platform. Now, if I want to put some kind of big, let's say I've got a big box, all right? Look at how low this is, right? It's only, what, a couple inches maybe. Let me get my tape measure. All right. Yeah, so, well, 4 inches. Okay, but I can tell you that with the seats folded down, you know, it's probably about a good 4 inches higher than that. It's like 7 or 8 inches where the seats, you know, end up. It's definitely, it's going to be a lot higher than that 4 inches off of the sill plate there. Okay, this is about as low as you can go. All right, and so you've got a lot of, I think you've got about, let's see how much height you got here. 42 inches. Okay, but you don't have 42 inches at that grab handle. So yeah, at that grab handle, 38, 37, something like that. But you can get a pretty damn tall box in here. Okay, like say, you know, you went to your big box store and got something in a big box, like a chest freezer or something like that, and you wanted to carry it in the cab. And you know, I've already measured this here, but this door opening, you know, you get like about 24 inches, 25. So it's about 25 inches from here to, you know, that's going to limit. Okay, this span right here is going to limit how, you know, how tall it can be. It can be 40 inches, you know, 38 if it gets up here, but you're not going to use, you know, you've got a limitation here of about 25 inches, but you could scoot something in there as long as it's 25 inches, and it could be about 40 inches tall, and you could scoot something in here and angle it in here, and it could be 5 feet wide by 40 inches tall by about 25 inches thick, whatever you want to call it, and it'll fit in here, and it's, you know, it'll slide right across there. It's not gonna, it's gonna be sitting on something that's level and stable and solid. Now here's another thing too. If you got pets, I used to carry my pets on the back seat. I put a moving blanket down. I had a couple of dogs, and they were good dogs, and they were no trouble at all. And they used to sit on the back seat. I put a blanket on it to keep their claws off the leather, and everything was fine. And they were the kind of dogs, they behaved themselves, and they loved it. They lived it up. And you know, but think of let's say, you know, you had some rambunctious pets back here, And you know, you could put your big dogs on something like this instead of your back seat. You know, it'd be more rugged, more suitable. And so anyway, that's what that looks like. If you just want to put something in there. Now, I need to show you these blocks. And what these blocks do, these are important. You've got to have these because you've got to have a platform in order to lower the midgate. If you want to open the midgate, you've got to have these blocks. You cannot take the midgate down to this level, okay? You can't take it down to here because it's too far. You're going to overflex the hinges. And furthermore, you know, the midgate's just not going to be at an appropriate level. It's going to be sloped downward. It's just not going to be right. So you can't do that. That's one of the things you got to have. Now, if you look closely, holes. The hole there, and that mates up with these pins. So I've got some stainless steel pins driven into this block, and let's get some dimensions on this block. So yeah, that block is, you know, you look at it. See what it is. It's about 4.5 there, this way, and about what, 3, a little under. So 2 7/8 tall. Okay, now you put the block flat ways if you're going to open the midgate with the cargo platform fully folded down, and so you find your way in to one of these holes, swing the other one. There you go. All right, so I didn't get that on camera, but now that and actually I'm going to put it the other way. You can go either way. There you go. Swing that into position. Okay, it's in the holes. That block's got to sit there. Got to go around the other side and get the other one. There you go. So now, let the midgate open. I've got the window out. Doesn't really matter, but there you go. Now I got the midgate open. The window's out. With the window in, this piece, this log, is going to stay up here. But anyway, this is how it's going to look. It's going to give you a slight amount of upslope. And I found that you have to have that. You have to have a slight amount of upslope on the midgate when it's laying flat. Okay, so those two blocks are supporting this midgate, and now I can get in here and sit on this and everything. I can put all the weight I want and everything, and it's totally stable and solid. But one thing you have to do is you have to understand that there's an upslope here. Okay, and then so you cannot have the midgate dead level, because what's going to happen is now whatever material you put in here is just going to have a gap out in front, and it's just going to sag. So you've got to have some upslope to continue this. That's just the way it's made, and you know your gap is going to be somewhere in this zone. But you know, this filler piece and everything, it's just the way the thing is made. So that's why I had to do some just some careful consideration to come up with the dimensions of those blocks so they support the midgate. And now I got to close the midgate. And another thing I'm going to show you, if you're somebody who if you're not aware of this, you need to be aware of this. Okay, now when you go to close this midgate, if you're just going to reach in here and do that and slam it with one hand, that's no good. You can't do that. And here's the reason why. You're going to have sealing problems because the latches. And right now with the window out, it's latching on the log here, right here. And these latches are made like door latches. You see this gap. I don't know if you can see that gap right there, but there's a gap. Okay, this rubber is not against this rubber. There's a gap, but you thought you closed it, but what these do, they have a half latch position. They're just like your car doors. So you have to slam these things hard, okay? And they have to be both sides. And the way this needs to be done, you can see this one is only on its half latch too. It's not fully closed. But the way this thing needs to be done is what you have to do is you have to put one hand on this side and one hand over here. So you need two hands, and you got to be, I'm sitting in the center of the truck right now, and you got to take both hands and you got to slam firmly. And I can't do that holding the camera, but I'm just letting you know. I'll set you down here. So you're going to see black for a second, and I'll close this thing with both hands. Okay, so now both sides, and you have, there's no gap with that rubber there. There's no gap. That rubber there, it's, you can see the difference, and both sides are fully latched. And it works that way here, because what happens is with the window in, your latching point is here. Okay, with the window out, your latching point is here, and with the window in, your latching point is here, because this log stays in. So, and I can show you how that works if I hold this down. You gotta hold this little, that makes it think the window's in. There you go. I did do it with one hand. Okay, so now the log's in place, okay? And the latching point is here, and these are double latch too. It's the same thing. So I'm just going to close it half-ass with one hand, like that, you know, and you can see there's a gap, big gap, okay? Now, watch what happens. I can just sock this with my palm here. Look at how I just pulled that in, okay? Because it was only on half latch. And this one is not on full latch. And I'm just going to give it a sock. And that pulled it in. Now it's on full latch. Okay, so you have to understand that. So, you know, the best way to do it, if you can't get in and sit in the center and slam it with both hands spread out, and you're going to want to put one hand here, and give it a good firm slam. If you can't do that, then you got to do what I just did. Is like reach in here and just palm smack right on that latch one more time. So that's something you need to know about this midgate. It does not fully latch if you don't close it right. All right, so I'm going to get out of here for a second, and I'll bring you back in a minute. Thanks. Stay tuned. All right, so now I'm back, and now I'm going to show you what I can do with this thing if I want to carry some 8-foot long cargo back here. And I'm going to convert this pick up on it. Okay, you've got a, like I told you before, there's a piano hinge right there, and I just ran the carpet right over it. It doesn't you know, buckle or anything. You have to make a cut right here, but this is one piece, otherwise there's a cut right there on the edge, because you know, when you pick up on this, it's going to separate right there. So anyway, this is all hinged. Pick this thing up, all right, and then you can see that wing there just folded out on the other side, and now this wing's going to fold out, and these wings are to protect the interior panels of your door. And this is, if you're, I've done this before, I've carried some pretty rugged stuff. I mean, piles of long metal stock, pipe, things like that want to roll around from side to side, you know, metal pipe and stuff like that, long stuff. And this wall here is going to provide me with protection for my door. Things can get rugged in there, roll around. As you can see, I didn't do the neatest trim job on my carpet. My razor blades were dull, and I could go back and touch that up, but you know what? I'm all out of, I don't care. So there you go. Now there's a pin that stows down here. there's a hole, and I don't know if you can see that, this is a stowage hole for that pin. And what this pin does, there's a hole, and I just made this pin. I just took me a piece of stainless rod stock, bent it over, and there you go, you got a little pin. And that pin goes in this hole. And what that does, see, that keeps, because otherwise this thing can get outside. You can see I just picked it up and I got outside of there. So that keeps it inside. And, you know, let's get the seatbelt out of the way. The seatbelts, you can leave the seatbelts where they are. As a matter of fact, I didn't mention that before, but when you pull the seats out, you leave the seatbelts alone. They can stay right where they always are. They don't get in the way of anything, and they're fine. So that pin goes there. Go to the other side. Swing that door open. I'm going to get my little pin here. Swing that door open. And a little pin goes in the hole there. That keeps that. Now, what's got to happen is you got your holes, right? 2 pairs of holes, and you know what those are for. Those are for the blocks. So I got to get the blocks here. Now, the blocks are going to go tall ways. So find your way into those holes there. There you go, that one's in place. Get the other side. I think I got a little paint in the hole there or something there, huh? There you go. Okay. So you've got corresponding holes for those pins. And now those 2 blocks are in place. And then I can let my midgate down. And boom. Midgate is at just the right level. It's got the right amount of slope. It's got to have a little bit of upslope on it. Okay, you can see if you look at that, there's a little bit of upslope. Put a long straight object in there and lay it across there, and you'll see that you've got to have a little bit of upslope. But I can tell you that midgate sits better on those blocks, more accurately and more solid than what it sits on. That one it looks like when it sits on the folded down seat backs. Basically, it has a lot more upslope to it, and then it's got, you know, the foam cushion. It's spongy and it gives up and down, you know, when you put stuff on it. And this is dead solid. So now I can go ahead and you know, if I go back here and have a look in here, I got some junk in here, but you know, there you go. So I have over 8 feet. I've measured it out from with the tailgate closed to this here, which is going to protect my seat backs. The cargo can shift. You know, it's not going to come up against the seats. It's not going to come up against the door panels. And I have more than 8 feet. It's like about 8 foot 2 or 3. I think it's pretty close to 8 foot 3 inches, what I've got here. So plenty of room. 8 foot plus 2 or 3 inches. Now, as you can see, this is with it's all extended and with the seats up. And by the way, this wall here, these are all dead vertical. There's no slope to them. And now I'm going to take the seat and I'm going to push button number 1 here, and it's going to go back. So it goes back to this is my preferred driving position, and this thing is all set up so It does not contact the seat, and there's a little bit of contact here, but it's on it's on the carpet here, okay? And that's the reason why you have to have this notch. You have to have this notch here because this section of the seat back. But what this does, and there's still room back here. You can throw things, and there's all the room I need to have all the leg room that somebody who's 6'2" is going to want to have up here. Okay, so I do not have to compromise my driving leg room to have my 8 feet of cargo bed back there. And here's another thing is just so you know, I can go ahead and open that little there's room for that. I don't know if you can see my hand here, but there's room for that. There's like a couple inches there, so plenty of room for that little cup holder. Oh, by the way, I got a little 12-volt outlet in there. You can see how that's lit up there. I've got a USB cable, and this is I've got a 12-volt plug in here. This is an adapter. You know, it's your cigarette lighter, and that's because I've got a cigarette lighter receptacle in here, so I can plug that in there. And your Avalanche doesn't have that. I know it doesn't. Not if it's the same year as mine, because I'm the guy that put that in there. So that's a nice little upgrade if you want another place to plug things in. And I have a cooler that runs on 12 volts, and it's got a little Peltier, refrigeration unit in it, and I can plug it in here, and I can set that cooler right down in here. There's enough room for it. It's kind of oblong and slender. It's got a carrying handle, and it'll set right into here. Or I could put it back there anywhere where I find a spot. But that's where I like to plug it in, right there. And if you want to do something like that, you got to take this console out, and basically you're gonna come up with your B plus from right up in here, where you've got these three here, and then you got to get a ground. And what I did was I ran a ground wire because I had the dashboard out. I ran a ground wire. There's a ground post right behind Mr. Bill over there. You can't see it now, but when the dashboard was out. But I ran the ground wire. There's a ground post on either side of the dash at the A pillars. There's one there, and there's one right here where all of your grounds for everything in the dashboard. And that's the important thing. You got to find a ground. So you get your B plus off of the harness here, and you got to come up with a ground. Now you're not going to take your dashboard out, but you can find another ground right down here. So I don't know if you can see that, but right down here where my fingers are touching, all right, this is the right down in here. There's studs. You'll see them. There's a stud right there. I've got some grounds going there. That's factory. There's a stud right there, and you can get a decent ground there. That goes to the this is the aluminum frame that the dashboard frame, and there's a stud there, and you can get a ground there too. You'll just have to string. I've got this panel out right now, but you'll have to string a wire across here, right? And so there's where you can find a ground. But that's the thing. You got to have a good ground for the return path. Do not use your seat mounts. Do not use your seat mounts. They are not a good ground. Do not take and put a ground wire on one of your bolts where the seats bolt down. Don't do it. All right. You got to run a ground to a good location, and then there you go. You can have a 12-volt plug there. So I don't know what else is there to talk about here, but yeah. I got a real nice cargo layout here, so maybe I guess that's it for now, unless I come up with some final thoughts. So thanks a lot for watching. So long.